Hey folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we'll sit down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then he'll rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing Ferris Bueller's Day Off, directed by John Hughes, Shazam by David F. Sandberg. We have newly released Shazam! Fury of the Gods by David F. Sandberg, 65 by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, and finally newly released Inside, directed by Vasilis Katsoupas. It's going to be a great show, folks, so stay tuned and enjoy. Mr. Vincent Daly, how we doing, buddy?
Thomas, how's it going?
It's going okay for me. How was your week of movies, man?
Well, I'll say we got some surprises.
No good?
No good. Shazam didn't treat you well. Listen, there's some surprises this week. Almost as every film was a surprise in its own way. Its own little gift to me this week.
I will say it's a funny week.
Yeah.
It's a funny week for a few different reasons. I mean, this I like this list because it's all over the place, and I know you had some difficulty with it. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, but I think it's going to make for some good commentary.
It's great. Sunshine and daisies.
Yes. I'm going to pitch it now for the end of the show. We're going to do my birthday movies.
Oh, yes.
As I said.
And folks, I do not know. Hand to God, I have no idea what he's going to throw at me.
Excited.
I'm guessing a lot of Westerns.
As I said last week, the power has gone to my head.
Total ego trip.
How mean do I be?
Oh, it's a...
Because I can finally get what I want. You know what I mean? But we'll discuss it later. Anyway.
I thought July being all Westerns.
July, okay, we'll get one thing straight here. July was not all Westerns. July was one semi-Western a week.
That's true. It's not like October, all horrors.
Yes.
Yeah,
it was a month of one Western a week, but really some of them were kind of half Westerns. We had about 2.5 Westerns of the roughly 300 films that we've done so far on the podcast.
I'll agree with that.
So, yeah, well, you know, it's okay. You know,
it's all right.
Some say it's my genre. You know, it's all right. I'll start my own podcast. Anyway, my birthday movies, and that'll be at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
For right now, we're going to finish off our John Hughes film study. John Hughes is directing. He's writing, of course.
Yeah.
This is 1986. This is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. We have been talking it up like it's the best one we've watched. So let's actually see how it holds up. Ferris Bueller, Vin, how do we like it?
Absolutely. I got to say, I've watched this movie a lot. I really did love it, and I think it was great to return to it with the momentum of watching all these other movies, because I almost in every review I was spotting something to say, oh, that leans towards Ferris Bueller, you know.
He was building towards it, yeah.
Exactly. So, folks, it is the final destination for the John Hughes study. Such a pinnacle of both 80s and Hughes' own style in his filmography. I've seen this many times, but something clicked when watching this again. Maybe it was, like I said, the huge progression, paying attention as he was building his career as a writer and director, or maybe it's just watching in the context of 70-plus episodes on the podcast under my belt.
75, baby. We're on 75.
Yeah, it's a lot of movies. And watching this, I was like, wow, this is a really great movie. I'm really enjoying this. It's kind of refreshing. So refreshing for this week as well. So I walked away with a great appreciation for this film. And honestly, this being the kind of the thematic endpoint for the John Hughes study, I'm gonna rant a little bit on this film, if that's all right, Tom. Shot me a look.
No. I think go long on the film, but it's also a wrap up of this long John Hughes study that we've
exactly.
been on. That's fine.
Yeah. Ferris Bueller is one of the most popular kids in high school, but his only concern is to have a day off to maximize his closing days before adulthood. The greatest day off to experience a pastel of life and truly live life to the fullest. He can't fool everyone, though, as both his sister and principal are fed up with his wise guy attitude and routine and plot to bring his day off to a close. Honestly, Hughes as a writer was famous for cranking out full scripts over a weekend just for fun, and though this film feels simple, it really is deceptively holding a secret ingredient, and that is pacing. The pacing, I think, is immaculate here. It is so... Well, I'm trying to think of another word for pacing. It is so...
it's fluid.
It's fluid. It's fine-tuned. This constriction of having it being tied to just the school day was one of the greatest things to be done for this film.
Yeah.
It's not a full day. It's just a school day. So what that does for stakes, what that does for story structure, what that does for everyone kind of understanding that there's only going to be so many hours that he can party and live it up until he has to get back for his parents coming back. There is just such a masterfulness about taking something mundane like a school day and actually making that the stakes of the film, and something that all audiences can understand. I mean, I really think that's the secret ingredient to why this film works so as well as it does.
I definitely like the box that it's in, and at the same time, it's almost has more to play with, where unlike a Breakfast Club, where we're confined a lot to the school,
right?
Here you have a way bigger playground where you can have the whole city, basically.
Oh, absolutely.
So that also adds another thing of keeping it fresh and, keeping it interesting on screen, kind of.
Absolutely, yeah. And even with Breakfast Club, like, it's a full 8 hours. I don't know even if they're suggesting it's a full 8 hours with Ferris Bueller's Day Off, because he kills time at home. He has to pretend he's sick.
Right.
But so there's this... I don't know, there's this vice script that is on the script, on the plot, that keeps us engaged, even though the events around the city, the activities that Ferris does with his day off, they're really mundane. I mean, they're not like anything that is life or death. He's having a fun time, he's experiencing life, but that is given context, that is given stakes by this confine of it's within one day off, it's within one school day. So I think I was just really appreciating that, especially and we'll touch on this in multiple times for this episode with multiple films, how pacing even in a brief film can be fumbled. So like to have it executed upon so well, I mean, man, I was just really, really in love with it, and I felt like I wanted to lead off with that. Personally, I feel all of the cast here escapes being annoying and shows none of the weaknesses we covered in previous entries. I think it's a big reason why in this Hughes finally casts actors a little bit beyond their age curve. All throughout the last films, these actors are incredibly young, to the point of actually being real teens under 18, and even being the Achilles heel for the drama in something as sharp as a script like The Breakfast Club. The cast here: Broderick is 24, Alan Ruck 30, Mia Sara 20.
Wow, he's 30.
Yeah.
Wow, definitely looks younger.
Took me by surprise, too.
I cannot watch Succession and see him and not think of Ferris, of him going, "When Cameron," what? I can't do it. Wow, he's 30. They play him off well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, I originally chose these 5 films for the study because they were the iconic teen comedies. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of asking for kid actors and choosing these films for their kind of iconic teen 80s elements over other Hughes films like National Lampoon, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Like, these are just as iconic in his early work.
Yeah.
So here, seeing all the cast thrive, once again, it was a little bit of a light bulb because I don't know. I mean, I feel like Hughes' writing is always on point. He's always having fun. He always has something surprisingly emotional to say about the teen experience at the time. Here, they're able to capitalize on the writing and the cast itself. And again, personally, I think none of this dips into annoying. We don't get a Pretty in Pink scenario where, like, Ducky was like the worst thing in the
Right.
movie,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So or John Cryer. So I think it's a fine-tuned approach there. Broderick, I would say, is incredible in this. I'm a fan of Matthew Broderick in a lot of things. He's got a great, charming performance, and once again, at least in my opinion, one of the most successful fourth wall breaking characters put on screen. It's probably a pretty short list, if I'm being honest, and one dominated by, the modern Deadpool approach of cracking jokes on the screen.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I feel like Broderick's character, Ferris, is, man, it just, I don't know. There was never a point that I was like, oh boy, like, can we speed this up? Or that the jokes weren't working, or that his charm wasn't working.
Yeah, he needs to sell it.
Yeah.
This is, what is that show on Amazon? Fleabag, I think it is.
Okay.
And that's a fourth wall breaking.
Oh,
and
sure.
she does a really good job with it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but you need the actor to do it.
Yeah.
Or else I guess it's just cheesy, right?
Yeah. I was really trying to dissect in my mind why does this work versus maybe something else doesn't work. And I don't know. I think a little bit is that Ferris gets the spotlight and really never chips away at his cool, never chips away at his defining character features here.
Right, yeah.
But it was tough. I couldn't really call a definitive heads or tails on why I think it works so well, or why it escapes being annoying specifically.
Right.
But I don't know. What are your thoughts there? I mean, have you seen Bueller's Day Off before?
Of course, yes. I've definitely seen it a few times.
Right.
It's been a while since my last watch, probably. I think he just sells it. I think that's the thing. The writing is good enough.
Sure.
And Broderick sells it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you made a comment. I was going to bring this up at the end, but I'm interested to hear it now.
Sure.
You said that you're a fan of Broderick and you're a fan of a lot of things he does. What does he do?
I like him with producers.
What has he done? Okay.
Yeah, I guess maybe not a lot of things he does.
I was shocked to see that he is going to be in a movie soon.
He with Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes.
It's like
that's right.
Yeah.
Very excited. I was like, oh, good, finally.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
where you been for, 20 years?
For sure. He's got like long hair too. It's like,
It looks
what's
good.
going on?
I mean, he does a lot of Broadway stuff, but we're not the biggest Broadway kind of guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's where kind of my comment, maybe I personally am not a fan, but I respect at least some of the work he does.
Yeah,
on
definitely.
Broadway. I mean, I think my ending note with Broderick, I cannot pronounce his name.
I messed it up too.
Broderick. I think my ending note with Ferris is that I could easily criticize how his character is just like a master at social engineering and hacking and, almost kind of out there stuff, just like I was throwing some knives at Weird Science last week. But I think once again, it's the right ingredients in the right time and the right execution. I think how it plays into the comedy makes it worth the experience, and where I think Bueller as a character escapes criticism that I almost have with all the Hughes films so far. I think this film is also much, much, much funnier than everything we've covered so far. I was maybe giggling at some stuff every now and again. Actually, 16 Candles, I did get some genuine laughs out of me. But honestly, I was surprised at the genuine laughs I was getting out of this film. And no less, after so many rewatches, Jeffrey Jones is fantastic as Principal Rooney. Yeah. Somehow he balances like menacing and idiotic at the same time, because he really is like, he's a threat to Ferris in this film. Like, he's after him the whole time. He's going to his house. Like, these are serious threats to his day off, as silly as that sounds. But man, he just makes a surprisingly good villain, and it's just hysterical. I don't even know
Great point, yeah.
other things that Jeffrey Jones is in. I think
He's got that. He is recognizable.
Yeah.
But you're not like just like, oh, he's in this and this and this.
Yeah.
He is in things though.
Absolutely. There's also an excellent running joke about the support for Ferris while he's sick, and it reminded me of that great quality in Airplane, where the longer the joke runs, the better it gets. And this is a joke that literally runs for the entire length of the film, which is great, and it builds. And a lot of the times, it's just in the background too; they don't even recognize it.
Right.
So, once again, I mean, I've obviously seen this film plenty of times before. I know I like this film. I feel like watching under a context of, as a critic, 75 episodes under my belt.
Yeah.
Understanding why I recommend a movie, And then on top of this, understanding in the context of, wow, I'm seeing Hughes as a writer really just fine-tune and tune. I just had a huge appreciation for the comedy specifically in this film. It was really great.
It's a cool thing to see, and it's a cool thing to watch somebody hone something in and just get closer and closer to the bullseye.
Absolutely.
Through his work, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I mean, dirty little secret here is that we could have a completely other film study as well with him.
Oh, we could probably have a solid 3.
Well, I mean, he sticks with John Candy for a little while, and then he starts with the Home Alone. Like, there's so much going on, but that's how fast he was at writing, which is nuts.
He really just cranked him out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But going with the teen route, I think, was a great building block.
Yeah,
I
feel
understand who Hughes is, and how is he kind of transforming, basically.
Absolutely, and where he gets his start ultimately. I mean, after not too long after this, again, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a little bit of an outlier, but. After this, he ditches directing just for writing, and you can see that he probably recognizes that as his strength.
Did he do Uncle Buck as well? Okay.
Uncle Buck, Mr.
Direct?
Mom. I don't know if he directed Uncle Buck.
Right.
But yeah, let me put some pieces in place, at least for my appreciation for this movie and how it was clocked up specifically for the study. And I want to highlight this specifically because, folks, if you haven't been listening to 100% of the episode, maybe these Hughes movies haven't caught your eye or anything like that, or the 80s-ness have kind of turned you off of it. I feel like there are elements there that are adding to some of my appreciation. I noticed that Hughes is beginning to juggle 2 antagonists, this being Jeffrey Jones and then playing Principal Rooney, and then also Jennifer Grey working against him as a sister, of course, pre-Dirty Dancing with Jennifer Grey. And that's a stepping stone off of Weird Science for juggling that. Key, once again, for the pacing. I think you take a concept like this and you put it in lesser hands, or you put the pen in lesser hands, and it becomes a cute movie. It becomes absolutely a teen movie, but also maybe a nothing movie. And I think, again, a secret element here, or a secret ingredient, is that you have 2 forces working against Ferris, in addition to just the prospect of him getting caught, his parents finding out.
Right,
There's so much working against him to have as good of a day that he's having. I mean, it really is. It's just masterful. The soundtrack, I think, is genuinely great, and not just for the music selection, it's used a lot more sparingly. It's not shoved down your throat. I forget.
So recognizable too.
Oh yeah,
the main theme is so recognizable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned with most of the films that we covered previously that the soundtrack is very heavy-handed, and in 16 Candles' case, almost drowning the experience out. I think in 16 Candles I called it almost Suicide Squad syndrome, or Forrest Gump syndrome. You know what I mean? It almost becomes too much. Here, once again, it's the same type of music. It's all new wave. It's all mid-80s type of pop, but it's just used better. It's just it's a little bit more sparingly. It's not shoved down your throat. And while the script doesn't gun for the emotional intensity in The Breakfast Club, in a much better way, it's able to juggle what a day means for our characters, on the cliffs of growing up. It's not trying to make these big arcing strokes of, wow, this is the teen experience, but in a little bit of a study, what does a day free from the expectations of their parents mean? And obviously that playing a lot more into the characters around Ferris as well. So, Tom, I'm going to show my hand a little bit and say I watched this twice.
Oh, wow.
And somehow I had the time. They were all kind of short watches this week.
Yeah, this is what, an hour and 43, I think?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah.
A rare double watch.
And I seriously think this is one of the greatest teen comedies of all time. Not because there's a hidden emotion or drama that elevates it above its teen status, but instead it's true to its own concept, and the importance of a teen story kind of comes naturally to it. I would say Hughes has all the same ingredients, all the same factors in play with his previous films, but the execution is flawless here, and simply could not shake the feeling after watching this 2 times that this is a must-watch. We're going to go ahead and give Ferris Bueller an 87.
An 87?
87, I'm telling you. I
have to watch this again.
Almost overwhelmed with the feeling of just like, how could
again.
someone not watch this movie? From top to bottom, a must-watch.
You got me speechless on this one.
He's speechless.
Rare, because I don't even have anything to say to this.
Rare also for the leading up to this movie. You know,
87?
Hughes has not been doing great.
Wow, no, but boy, does he make it up. And it should be, what's the first one we did? Was it Pretty in Pink? Or
16 Candles.
Okay, that was what, 83 or 84?
As far as the year, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is only 1986. You know what I mean?
He doesn't have a huge runway, yeah.
I mean,
He keeps on bumping them out.
okay. I cannot, you gave it an 87%.
I'm telling you, I thought long and hard about this. You know, I don't throw out these numbers just for numbers.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, and if anything, what surprised me is that, if anything, the average online, the average perspective is that this is just kind of, it's a cute 80s movie or anything like that. I'm telling you, it's all in the details. It's all in the execution. I really strongly believe that it's a must-watch.
I can't believe. I mean, I like being shocked. I like being shocked. That's for sure.
I told you, I got you. I had some surprises this week.
So this is like in the top 10%. I mean, we're almost approaching, I think, like 1,000 films between the master list and this, basically, that we're plugging away on.
Yeah.
Wow, 87%, a phenomenal score, people. Everyone this week, go and watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Treat yourself, watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Wow, okay, Vin.
Yeah. I would say the only other note I really have...
Cannot wait for Flubber. Will it top it?
Yeah, right. The only other note I have is that I think I enjoyed this so much that I want to kind of give an extension to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Just because, like, not that it's part of the film study or anything.
We're extending the study, is that what you're saying?
No, but, like, you know, it's going to be in the coming weeks. I definitely want to watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
So it was on my radar because basically the only other movie podcast that I like and will listen to from time to time, they did that kind of recently.
Sure.
But it's something that it's just like, I would like to watch that again.
Yeah. So,
and I think it would be good to get some John Candy on the list too.
You think that could creep in for the birthday episode? Or?
No.
I'm not getting away with that.
No. I wish I had 14 birthdays in this year.
Whoa.
There's so much content.
There's so
that
much
you need to watch, says me. 87% though, Vin. Really good. I would love to do more John Hughes. And maybe not like in every week, maybe, you know what I mean? Just like a sprinkling here or there. Just like, what am I going to do for a fifth film this week? Yeah. Throw in a Hughes.
I think instead of watching sequentially, I'll probably jump around a lot more. And that way we kind of avoid
we'll wait for
some dark spots, you know.
Yeah. For Christmas, months away.
Home Alone.
Right, exactly. There's plenty to work with there.
Absolutely.
87% for Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Fantastic. Wow, it's a must-watch, folks. I can't wait to put that on the site. It's fantastic. Okay, we went long on that one, so here we go. We're going to jump long. This is a very new kind of episode here. Now we're already in 2019. Let's jump into it. It's Shazam! ! Nice. A Philly movie. You know, we've been in Philly quite a bit.
Not like Creed, though. No. This is barely Philly.
2019. Kind of explain and set up the character of Shazam.
Sure.
How is he to be? Where does he belong in the universe of the universes?
Universe of the...
And like I said, how is Shazam?
Yeah. Shazam is a weird character, weird superhero, and honestly, a bit of a blind spot for comic book knowledge-wise for me. The character has existed for quite some time, actually going back to the 50s, believe it or not.
Okay.
But really, most of the modern stories, the modern appeal of the character comes from DC's New 52 revamp of the comics throughout the 2010s, roughly 2010 to 2016.
When you say the 2010s, then these to 52, you said?
Yeah, so this is on the comic book level.
Oh, the actual comic book line. Okay.
Yeah, most of the Shazam stories, the love for Shazam is coming from a comic book revamp that is called DC's New 52, basically.
Gotcha.
52 superheroes revamped, and Shazam being a very successful one from that.
Okay. There was also a show in the 70s, I think, too.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Briefly, yeah.
Yeah. Like we covered in Black Adam and in the review of Black Adam, his power is sourced from ancient mystical magic to basically give him like Superman abilities. He has it all: super strength, flying. You know, he's got lightning instead of laser eyes. You know, he's got it all. But Shazam isn't The Rock or Henry Cavill. He is actually just a kid. This film is kind of a lighthearted nod to 1988's Big. Our character here, Billy Batson, is an orphan teenage boy. And the biggest part of the movie that works, I would say probably the best part of the film is that he acts like a kid with his superpowers. He's enamored by that. He's thrusted into being a superhero. Simply saying the word Shazam sends a bolt of lightning to transform him into an avatar of strength, fully grown and all. And he may be powerful, or really all-powerful in a lot of instances, but without a doubt, this movie works best when the comedy is around his excitement of experiencing superpowers for the first time. Him signing himself out of school as his own parental guardian. Him stopping a mugging because he wants beer, not liking the beer and going back and getting snacks. That's when the film is at its best, and Zachary Levi is a huge reason for this comedy working. He has a great playfulness that sells the whole thing. But
Zachary Levi is the adult version?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But like we'll get into in just a moment for Shazam 2, I would say it works when there is a balance of kid and adult. If anything, like a setup to Zachary Levi's jokes, you need that kid portion to it for him to kind of be funny, for him to actually follow through on the jokes and for it to really land. When he's just 100% superhero, it's not landing as much. I also want to give some slight credit to this being a superhero movie where he actually gives a damn about saving people. This plays into a more kid-friendly tone, which I think is important for Shazam, but it's also softening the hyper gritty tone for this phase of DC. It's all blue lasers in the sky. The world is ending. We gotta get down there and stop the blue laser. That's a lot of these DC properties, and very dark in its tone. I think there is a refresh that happens. It's not as bland having this kid focus, but also as a kid he cares about saving people like the superheroes he looks up to. Also a secret Christmas movie.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, okay, all right. Add it to the list. Add it to the list.
We gotta add it to the list. That's about it for praise, though. That's all the gases in the tank. Everything outside of the superhero comedy is super generic. All of it. Shazam's mythos. I'm kind of criticizing the comic at this point. It's just very lame. Mark Strong as the villain, Dr. Savannah. I had to look that up. I was not remembering his name. He's not a memorable villain. He's just almost maybe to the joke of the film. He's super generic bad guy.
Pretty cookie cutter.
Oh, yeah. He basically gets an evil eye and can summon demons. Okay, all right. And I think the burden of yet another origin story. It's a lot of rinse and repeat because, you got to do these origin story things,
It doesn't make it interesting, though, because you have the kid being an adult, kid found superpower.
As that plays in the comedy, sure, but all work a fraction as well as that comedy. And if anything, the ending's paramount. If the ending is the superhero ending, it's, that is kind of the defining feature of the film.
Right, okay.
And don't get me wrong, I'm walking into a superhero film that's kind of expectations, but
sure.
I did not find some of these... people love this film online. They were like, "Oh, it saved
people
DC."
like this. People like this movie.
Yeah, I did not find it didn't escape. The comedy wasn't as good to escape the very generic parts that it had, and boy, does it have a lot of generic parts.
Okay, all right.
So, you can really feel it in every scene, too. It goes from enjoyable and clever to just painfully generic. The first confrontation between Mark Strong and Shazam is a perfect example of this. He's just in a parking lot and he just shows up. It's just bad. Most of the movie he's referred to as super villain by the other orphan friends.
Okay.
if that doesn't sell, that the villain maybe isn't compelling enough, that's kind of the problem. This generic slop is important to note, though, because while I agree the film is a comedy first, like I said just a moment ago, Tom, the climax, it boils down to the same fighting style we've seen since 2013's Man of Steel. It's still the same.
Okay.
Characters smashing each other in a in a CGI, city, destruction. It's just, man, it's all been there, done that.
Was it nice to see it's a Philly movie. Was it good to see Philadelphia as a setting or no? You didn't give a shit. You didn't give a damn.
There was no explanation of John. There was no Johnny Brenda's. I mean, there's like a Gino's cheesesteak shout out if that's what you're looking for. But
no, I just think I liked, the fact that we get a Philly skyline. The words Philly is talked about a bit. You get Philly police. I mean,
I feel like I don't know that's lost when it's all CGI. I guess you know what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Also, the second one I don't think is even shot in Philly, despite still taking place in Philly.
I think it's tax purposes or something.
Yeah, I think it was shot in like Quebec and New Zealand. So,
really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So sticking around for the post credit because required reading. So making sure to scan the credits. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Real talk, I think this whole movie just looks like trash. It's just like, man, I don't think it's cool. I think the CGI is just lackluster. The design as well, designed to monsters, designed to the Shazam mythos that he's pulling from this magic, this mystical world. It's just not scratching it for me. And I'll be honest, maybe I just don't dig Shazam. You know what I mean? I can get behind a lot of comic books, get behind a lot of superheroes. I was never on my own interested in Shazam, and I think visiting this, despite how well the comedy works at sometimes, it's that superhero side of it that just wasn't doing it for me, honestly.
Well, I mean, yeah.
So I think it's important to recognize where this film works, especially with the DCEU missing so much, even leading up to this. But in no way do I think this movie rises above a cookie cutter superhero origin movie. We're going to go ahead and give Shazam a 53.
Okay, 53, generic cookie cutter. That's what that tells me as well. But the main actor kind of did okay as far as playing it off, acting like a little, adult person, acting like a little kid.
Yeah,
the shock and everything like that.
Yeah, I think watch this movie if you like Zachary Levi from his TV career, from anything like that. And if you want more of a kid-friendly as well type of superhero movie. I mean, if anything, to my point about DC's offerings, they try to go, especially with Zack Snyder, they try to go so ultra gritty, so dark, that they forget it is a superhero movie. That was part of my criticism, that it was just kind of this origin story. Right. But I think a praise is that it doesn't forget it's about saving people and being heroic, and that is a win of the film. So
now, it's 2 hours and 12 minutes, too, which is kind of long, I feel like, because there's so much comedy in this. And then also, this shouldn't be taken as a joke character, though. He belongs, almost like Ant-Man is a serious Avenger.
Well, he's serious power level. He's not serious, though.
Oh, he's not?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like we said in the Black Adam review, there is like a power struggle of, some of the most powerful in the DC universe of Superman, Black Adam, and Shazam. They all are really high ranking as far as power.
Okay. So I guess my point is, are we going to be seeing him showing up, helping out all of his DC friends and whatever the DC Avengers will be?
We'll save that for the Justice League.
Right.
DC Avengers. That's how you know DC's losing the game. But yeah, we'll save that for Shazam too.
All right. Gotcha. All right. It'll be a little hush now. Okay. But all right, folks. All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and go into our donation segment. So we do have 2 donators today, two producers,
Double
I
dose.
should say. It's been a little quiet here, a little quiet on the podcast front a little bit, on the producer front. But that's okay. So first off, let's start with our executive producer of the show. And this is, we have a Godfather donation coming in.
Oh, look at that.
From Megan Newby. So Megan Newby is coming in and saying, love the pod, keep them coming, the Newby family.
Oh, wow.
So
a family affair.
A humble Godfather. $95. You could have written a lot more.
Soft-spoken, just like Brando.
But Megan and the Newby family, thank you so much.
Oh,
I mean, $95 is a huge amount. It's a new producer. They haven't produced before.
Wonderful.
So thank you so much. And again, feel free. It's humble. Again, don't be shy. Don't be shy.
Tear into me. I'm sure some people are going to disagree with that Ferris Bueller.
Well, don't worry, because up next we have our associate executive producer, and we have old Matt D coming back.
He's coming to get us.
Matt D coming with a Space Odyssey donation, which of course is 2001 pennies.
Wonderful.
Otherwise known as $20.01. Which is true, right? 2001 pennies does make...
Yeah.
Matt D's coming in. He's saying, "Hi, gentlemen. I have a couple topics for today."
Excellent.
All right, buckle in,
He's coming
Vin.
with an agenda.
He goes, number one, question for the research department. Is Creed 3, with a 77%, your highest-rated third installment of a trilogy?
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
That's a great question.
Well, that would have to go to Return of the King.
No, I liked Fellowship better than Return of the King.
Yeah, but no. But he's saying is Creed 3 with a 77% your highest rated third installment of a trilogy.
Oh, I see.
So as far as film number 3, like we know we don't get it with Predators.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We won't get it with Terminator, probably.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So it would have to be Return of the King.
And I think it just highlights that, the writing's on the wall sometimes with series, that the first is usually the best in a lot of instances.
Unless he's really talking about like 1, 2, 3 films. That's just labeling, though. You know what I mean? Like you have Creed 1, 2, 3.
Yep,
you
yep.
have Expendables 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? but
I think it's a rare occurrence to happen, especially for Creed, which I was not expecting the third to be the best. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think if it's not the highest by as far as like technicality, that there are higher third entries, I think it might be. It might take the crown for highest out of its own kind of self-contained trilogy.
Yes, best film out of that trilogy being the third one. Yeah,
which is for sure rare.
I mean, we're going to do the John Wicks next week, which is going to be exciting. But as far as third film,
I tell you, the third isn't the best in John Wick, that's for sure.
But as far as third goes, that would have to go to the Return of the King. Anyway, right?
He's claiming it for Lord of the Rings.
Anyway, okay, he's not done with his questions. Don't forget. Okay,
All right, we got the agenda.
Matt D says, "Have you ever seen Election? We need it on an upcoming episode."
Oh.
So Election was from the director of Sideways last week. And
no.
I hadn't. Election wasn't something that I even remotely...
Yeah, and not on my radar at all. So I can definitely add that to the list. Because like I said, I was kind of curious of more from that director.
Because that was the first thing we did.
Escaping me right now.
Okay, so, well, I mean, Matt D likes it, so it's something to check out there. And then he goes, number 3, I'm surprised you two aren't cheering on Best Picture win for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh.
You consistently argue against this stuffy, standard way of measuring films and doiling out awards. Then we get this beautiful, relevant, weird origin story that has everything from philosophy to dildo fights, and you say the standard, typical war movie should have won? Not only that, it's a remake of an adaptation. Come on. I love All Quiet on the Western Front, but Everything Everywhere All at Once was special and different and did everything well.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
I think he makes a pretty good argument.
Yeah, you really do. I think...
But... No.
Right.
Okay, but...
All Quiet was an awesome movie,
even when we first reviewed Everything Everywhere,
right,
you were praising its uniqueness.
Yes.
And saying, like, because we talked about generic Hollywood in the review, and you're saying how nice it was to see something unique and something just so weird to see on film. And the Russo brothers backing it up. It's like, good for big Hollywood to do something. It wasn't a niche little film that came out. So we did praise it, and then we did give it some Tom Dailies, or one Tom Daly or something.
I think so.
Wait.
Did we?
It was nominated for things.
Yes, yeah.
It was in the running.
It got snubbed, so.
And you're right. Maybe I was a little harsh last week saying it shouldn't have gotten it. It was unique and weird.
Sure.
But I get All Quiet is kind of like a modern day war film. This is our third good one that we've gotten in a row.
Yeah.
Like we talked about Dunkirk 1917 in that review. But it was a really good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a really good movie.
I think for both of us, it just hit such a spot that we love out of films. And not that Everything Everywhere doesn't hit that, but maybe we just didn't know what to expect with that.
Right.
Or that it was so out of left field. But I think more than anything, and I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong for you, I think there was just some exhaustion with the Oscars. You know what I mean? I didn't really have a huge desire to talk about it because, like I said, by the time March now rolls around, like I'm the previous year's behind me. You know what I mean? I watched all the movies.
Definitely.
I definitely have my own like definitive opinions on them. So like it's kind of
and I definitely don't care. It's just a fact of it, but I care about things winning awards they should be. You know what I mean? If we're still going to hold Hollywood up to some sort of prestige or craftsmanship of the highest form of like this art, you want to see people who deserve it win.
Yeah.
So I think I even said last week, I wasn't crazy upset. I could understand how All Quiet won. It
Right.
wasn't just a social justice warrior win or a minority win or something like that. I think it had something to do with it. But I just think All Quiet was just that good. And it was a German director who we don't really see before. It was all German cast who we don't really see. Like, they didn't really come from much. Netflix had it, so of course it came and went. No one knew about it. I just think it was that good. I do.
Yeah. But not saying that Everything Everywhere didn't deserve the win or anything like that. I think more so the observation that we had a preference for it.
Yes.
And just again, playing into that you and I, we like war films and we like gritty films. And
I think most people like good war films and gritty films.
Yeah.
But we love this film. You gave All Quiet on a great score.
Yeah.
I know. The only thing I said that really shouldn't have won, I thought, was Michelle Yeoh.
As actress.
Yeah.
And you wanted to give it to her. That was so funny. I think on the episode you said has
Kate Blanchett.
she won. She won for Aviator and Blue Jasmine.
She won both. Was Blue Jasmine supporting?
No, that was main.
Okay.
That's
and
Woody
Aviator
Allen.
was supporting.
Yeah.
Which she was barely. I love her in The Aviator. And when people say, "Why do you like Kate Blanchett so much?" I will bring out The Aviator.
Absolutely,
it's always in my pocket.
Such an interesting addition too, with the blue filter on Aviator.
Yeah, don't love the blue filter.
Oh, you don't?
I don't like the golf course scene.
Okay.
That being said, she's not in it very much, but I found that I could have done that real time with the awards, but whatever. But regardless,
cutting her short a little bit. But
I'm excited to see. I think this might be a Parasite effect almost, if I can say it. So basically, you think about Parasite, how it came out of the blue, first Korean film. You know, people hated the fact that it won. People absolutely loved the fact that it won. It was a unique film. People had that "what is this" and everything like that.
Sure.
Then you go back into Bong Joon-ho's films, and it's actually just like, oh, it wasn't lightning in a bottle. This guy actually had something this entire time.
Yeah.
I would be interested to going back into creators, writers, and directors of this.
Well, they do one movie that you don't care for. They do Swiss Army Man.
Right.
But that, if anything, that plays to their brand of this kind of. It's silly but also emotional. It might not be for everyone, but I know it's not for you. I know I'm not gonna hold it. It's not for Tom. But I think that's a great observation. And if anything, guess what? All Quiet got Best International, so we kind of shared the love.
Definitely.
Where previously with Parasite, people were angry. I believe it won International and Best Picture, and I think that was some of the outrage, if you will. Not that. That's my perspective.
There's been a lot of outrage coming out in the past few years too, because it's just like, oh, the movies that no one are going to see, the movies that aren't doing well box office wise, are winning. Like, what's it with the artsy fartsy stuff winning?
Sure.
My argument to that is, well, the blockbuster stuff is hot garbage typically, but that's a whole long podcast on itself.
And now they give the nods for Best Picture. You know, there's 10 nominees, so they can fit in Avatar 2 and Maverick.
Literally all because of The Dark Knight didn't make it in. Literally, that's what happened.
Right.
What that did is so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, but Matt, thank you so much for your Space Odyssey donation,
questions.
man.
Absolutely phenomenal.
I really like these three questions. Yeah. That was awesome to hear from
He
him
came
again.
with an agenda. That's great.
I made that comment saying, it's been a little dry on the podcast as far as producers go, and that's really okay. Vin and I, even though we're on episode 75, we've kind of just started this almost exactly a year ago as far as going live with things and coming with our 20 stockpiled kind of episodes. We're not coming with an audience. You weren't a film critic at a previous job and built up an audience and came to this. We're starting with zeros. You know what I mean? So it's a slow building thing. So we don't expect every week to sit here and have all this money rolling in. We have some reoccurring like Matt. We have brand new people like Megan and the Newby family, which is phenomenal. And the coolest part is that's why we say a way to be a producer, especially as we're early in this, which I know it's been a year, but it's still early in this of what we want to be.
Absolutely.
Telling somebody and just getting our voice out there and you helping with that is huge. I can't tell you how much a Godfather donation for Megan, $95. Yeah. That's a big deal.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really, really helped. In a major way, helps us.
That covers a couple licenses. So.
And, she didn't write this long paragraph. It's just like, hey, they clearly just enjoy, they're getting value. And they sent us $95 is incredible.
Yep.
Another great thing that we're seeing is the numbers. Our numbers are getting better. The numbers are rising. And with each episode, with a little bit more and more people listen to, we know that we're getting some chatter about it and people are out there talking about it. And we can't tell you how important that also is and how much we appreciate it.
Yeah.
That you can't really, we don't know exactly all the conversations going on about it, but we see the numbers rising. Very big deal to us. So remember, another way to produce is just get us in the conversation. Tell somebody about us, a friend, a family member, whatever. If it's on top of mind or you hear somebody talking about a movie, wedge us in there a little bit.
Yeah.
We greatly appreciate it. Just as we appreciate our producers this week, Matt D. and Megan and the Newby family. Thank you all so much. Just want to remind everybody again, in the coming weeks here, we're going to be having a weekly newsletter coming out. You go to the bottom of the website, any page, just go to the bottom, and you can just put your first name in there, put your email in there. It allows you to confirm that you are who you say you are, and then that's it. We're not going to get other information from you. We're not going to flood you with random junk mail.
Yeah,
we're not going to flood
definitely
you.
a quality over quantity kind of thing.
No newsletters selling you products. No newsletters just trying to get you to click on affiliate links and things like that. It's nothing like that. Yeah. The weekly newsletter is going to be some information in the movie world, some stuff you might be interested in, and also very random things that might just put a smile on your face. We want it for it to come out on Mondays, and we think it just might be kind of a good way to give you a chuckle, a good way to start your
a good
week.
lead-in for the episode, too.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Again, it's dailyratings.com. At the bottom of the website, you can go ahead and sign up for that. At the top of the website,
it's got all the directions.
You can click on the
cardinal directions.
Click on the donations button, and you become a producer today, just as we have executive producer Megan and associate executive producer. We've got the great Matt D coming back with us. So we thank you all so much. Now let's get back to it. We are back in Philadelphia or New Zealand or Canada. This is Shazam, Fury of the Gods. This is the same director. It's David F. Sandberg. In fact, we have the same writers along with it. A lot of the same producers. A lot of the same even like editor and everything like that.
Interesting.
So our crew is back. How is our newly released Shazam, Fury of the Gods?
Yeah, so let me kind of give you what you want as far as the business around DC.
Oh, okay, get into it right away.
Yeah, so there is a huge black eye on this film before it's even out of the gate. So I want to kind of explain some of this. Post Black Adam, there is a wave of hype led by The Rock to revitalize DC's universe. That, however, both with The Rock's attempts, kind of a guerrilla marketing, and as well as a box office performance of Black Adam, it is fell flat on its face. I mean, seriously, they made Henry Cavill quit Witcher to then just pull the rug out from under him and cancel the whole DCEU. So DC's film offering is now being drastically reworked.
How about the canceling of Ezra Klein's thing of the Flash?
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller. Now bringing him back.
Oh yeah,
and the film is going to happen. They cancel Batgirl.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been
there's a whole slew. Yeah. So this DCEU rework is being headed up by James Gunn, offering a drastically different tone coming for the rebooted films, and most importantly, though, nearly all main characters will be recast, and all previous stories of "quote unquote" the Snyderverse, is probably how it's going to be referred to as the era of DC competing with Marvel, at least directly, is going to be made non-canon. Wait,
okay. Everything is ditched.
Everything. Casting is ditched.
Latest Black Adam.
Ditched. Henry Cavill Superman ditched.
Wow.
Chubb Batman with Affleck ditched. I mean,
that's been gone. Though.
Yeah. No tears.
But there is, but with Batman, we have the Batmans.
Yes, Batman or the Batman and Joker on their own island, and honestly, that's how they should run it.
But I hear that we're gonna have a newly released Batman soon for the DC Universe stuff.
Semi soon. I think it's called Brave and Bold, but that's one that James Gunn is gonna be heading up. So. It gets worse. It gets worse. So I have no problem with rebooting everything. If anything, the DCEU has been rough. It's always been second fiddle to the MCU. So yeah, sunk cost fallacy. Cut it, restart it.
Again.
Yeah. Make it something new. And if anything, second time. Because again, the Black Adam one was kind of failed, honestly. It was more of a marketing attempt. It wasn't actually a reboot. They're really going back to the drawing board with everything. The bad spot, and why I said this is a black eye on the film, is that 3 movies are caught in this crossfire. Shazam 2, Aquaman 2, and The Flash, which seems to be the farewell letter to the Snyderverse. So, Tom, I ask very genuinely, who the hell cares about these movies when they're gonna be non-canon? They're shot in the foot by this rebrand announcement. And again, I don't have a problem with the rebrand, but save the announcement so you can actually have these films stand on their own, even if it's not going to amount to anything, but like the tiebacks, how it plays into a post-credit scene or who's showing up from the DCEU in this movie, all of it doesn't matter. And I gotta say, this movie isn't doing itself any favors in other departments as well. So that's a little bit of the background.
Okay, all right.
If you're interested in Gunn's offerings of what the new DCEU lineup is, that's definitely something to look up online. Again, I can't stress enough for my comic book fans out there, I have no problem with the reworking. It's just that the positioning of the studio news has completely shot these three films in the foot. Aquaman 2, who cares? Flash is you're only going to care about because Michael Keaton's in it,
Right.
But it's something else, so.
It is something else.
Yeah. I mean, even in the rework, they fumble somehow, what I mean? It's just... so.
Bad.
Yeah, so Shazam 2 focuses once again on Billy Batson's adopted family as they're kind of slowly being driven apart by growing up. Growing up is definitely a big theme in this film. Shazam is now leading his family by sharing the magical powers with his fellow orphans, giving them all the same powers he has, and is truly on his own for the first time in understanding this mystical magic that he employs, and the great power he controls. Here to prey on that power are the Daughters of Atlas, ancient demigods with claim over the powers of Shazam and gunning to take over the world. Excuse me while I take a nap. I mean, Mark Strong wasn't great as a villain.
Right.
You had two more villains. I mean, it's no John Hughes. They're not juggling two villains. The Daughters of Atlas, I mean, come on. You gotta get something out of the gate that's a little bit more gripping. I mean, butts are in seats for Ant-Man 3 because of Kang. There's gotta be something there that draws us as a superhero villain. I would say the villain is probably more important than the superhero at this point when we're looking at all these films.
And correct me if I'm... We got Helen Mirren?
Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu.
And Lucy Liu.
Which is like, they do okay.
Yeah.
Tell you. It's, what I mean? It's like, what? Who cares? And then there's a studio who cares, then there's a comic book universe who cares. So I think a critical misstep for this film is that it doesn't give enough time with the kids, which is important to balance why the first one worked at all. We see time with the kids on screen, and then we see how that excitement, their personalities translate into this grown-up version of themselves. Yeah. There's simply just not enough time with the kids to see how those personas develop into their superhero identity. The brand of Zachary Levi's comedy is not enough to hold the whole thing together, despite kid actor Asher Angel, I believe he's called, or his name is.
Yep.
Despite him not looking like a kid anymore, the script ignores any meaningful development of this character beneath the red suit. It's all Zachary Levi's show. And granted, he absolutely is what works in the first one, but he only works because he kind of shares the stage a little bit. Again, there's almost a setup to his jokes with the knowledge of a kid, underneath this red suit, underneath this, this grown exterior. Possibly the only highlight the movie has is a pretty successful meet cute between Jack Dylan Grazer and Rachel Zegler. Jack Dylan Grazer, I want to say he was in the It movies.
Yes, he
remember that correctly?
Yep.
And then Rachel is from the West Side Story remake.
Okay.
So both of them, honestly, I thought were great on screen. If anything, further drives home that the kid perspective is critical for the whole premise to work. And if anything, the kid perspective was the more enjoyable part to the nonsense, meaningless, magical, mystical affair, CGI, vomit that the film has for the majority of its runtime. So.
I'm looking at a still right now, and it's of a ridiculous looking... Helen Mirren looks like Dolby from Harry Potter, and it's just had Lucy Liu and this other girl. I mean, the CGI looks like I'm playing a video game from 2006.
Right? Doesn't
this is like as we're jumping, like this is as the best place PS2 can pump out. This is what this is looking like.
You're
right
always
now.
calling back to PS2.
This is bad.
Oh,
wow.
Man. And that's what I mean. When I said in the previous one, I'm not trying to just shit on the CGI or anything like that, but how these characters look in their digital backgrounds. One, it doesn't look like a real city, at all. I mean, it's clearly CGI Philadelphia. But there's just, I don't know, there's just this disconnect. It doesn't look well blended.
125 million.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's number one. It's got a $30 million weekend, which for this kind of movie went a lot more.
Yeah, big loss. I would say that's a big loss.
Screen did 44, I think.
I know. Kicking myself not watching 6 Scream movies where the algos. We'll get to it when 7 comes out because God knows it's coming out. But yeah, I would say everything else is death by generic once again. The 2 villains played by Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren literally could be replaced with anyone. They may have beef with Shazam, but nothing is done to bring personal stakes into play. At least Mark Strong was kidnapping people, you know what I mean? I don't know. The creature design is downright boring. They are able to spawn various Greek myth creatures, and honestly, it just feels vapid, like utterly vapid in the impact of the city. You'll see people on the streets get attacked. Not only is the saving effort from Shazam clocked down from the previous one, but they're supposed to be like lethal creatures, and it's just like it doesn't feel. There's no weight to it at all. And design wise, I mean, I was not impressed. And if there's anyone that's going to argue for like old Greek creatures and whatnot, it's going to be me. Like I like Cyclops, I like harpies and stuff like that. So like we talked about already, CGI is super derivative, specifically of Doctor Strange. In Multiverse of Madness, we got more of a monster focus. That's where I think this monster focus is coming from. On top of it, they just wholeheartedly rip off the classic, well, not classic, but the iconic Doctor Strange kaleidoscope effect.
Oh, they just take it.
Yeah, it's just like ripped off. It's not even like a,
wow.
Like it's, they just can't say that that's ripped, completely off from Doctor Strange. It's ridiculous. This may sound like a nitpick, but I feel like the locations of scenes are just completely lame. We get wonderful fight sequences on, the top of parking garages and nondescript rooftops and abandoned gas stations. And it's like, that's why you said, was it a good Philly movie? No, not even slightly was it a good Philly movie. I mean, Creed wipes the floor with its authenticity, if you want to even give it that. So, I mean, I just think I don't mean to stick on locations so much, but there's a particular type of failure when this superhero movie, Shazam can fly. He can fly literally anywhere. All of Philadelphia, anything, landmarks, lay some Easter eggs from the comic book. The fact that fights happen on just like rooftops and parking garages is just like, it's so
makes it
lame.
Cheaper. It makes it cheaper to shoot. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, man. This one was delayed a little bit. The only thing that'll give it is maybe this was in a late ripple of COVID restrictions for filming.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're talking 3 years out now, so
yeah, I don't think you can use that as an excuse anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it was delayed a little bit, but I don't know. That's the only bone I'll throw it. But really visually boring is the umbrella note there. Once again, the fumble is in the balance of comedy. This erodes at the stakes quite a bit in this film. More of a superhero focus highlights the weak spots in Shazam being our leading character. 2 moments in particular, choices were made that were so idiotic and so incompetent that my brain completely shut off. I mean, I was flatline. I was dead in the seat, dead in the Dolby studio, in the Dolby theater. For those that actually do decide to watch the movie, there is a villain imprisonment scene that is just so tremendously dumb that like why they thought it would work at all is just ridiculous. And then there's also a moment where he tosses a staff and it's in the direction of one of the villains, and they just catch it,
Right.
and I was just like, oh my god, my brain shut off. I had no neural activity. I was a vegetable. Folks, my only desire coming off of this was to get Aquaman 2 done and over with, and some slight hope that The Flash will be half decent enough to justify Ezra Miller not being in jail. We're going to go ahead and give Shazam! Fury of the Gods a 26.
Wow. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I think the 26 is definitely a judgment of the quality of the film.
Wow.
I think I'd be lying if I didn't say this. It's greater context in DCEU, the required reading, like I always say.
Right.
It's pointless. Don't watch it.
26 is a bad film.
Yeah.
Definitely worse than I thought.
Worse than Thor: Love and Thunder, which has recently been the low benchmark.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if I would disagree with that, because I really had a disdain.
The thing that
disdain for Thor: Love and Thunder.
that's the right word too.
Yeah.
The only thing that was saving in my head, not that it's about like rankings or anything, but Christian Bale kind of was saving Thor a little bit in the comparison game that is inevitable with all these.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
But yeah, no.
And as far as Greek gods go, or I guess if you're dealing within the god world, what's his face was good as Zeus.
Oh, right. Russell Crowe. Yeah. Chub Crowe.
Yeah. Okay, 26 for Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Maybe don't waste your time.
Yeah, maybe.
Folks, we're running long today.
We are.
Hope that's okay, but we have another knockout film coming up here. This is Adam. I don't know if this is on people's radar or not. It was on mine a little bit.
Yeah. Mine as well?
Yeah. We both saw it, not together.
Right.
This is 65, and that's it. It's just 65. It is in theaters now.
Yep.
It is Adam Driver. There's tiny cast. How did we like 65?
65 was. I feel like I'm using generic too much in this episode. Real generic, painfully so. So much like it just. I don't know. I was kind of side-eyeing Adam Driver, who's my boy, for getting a check with this one. Directors Scott Beck and Brian Woods are a team that has created a lot of meh so far.
They're big-time writers.
Yeah. Their biggest writing credit is Quiet Place Part 1 and 2, alongside John Krasinski. But Jim's missing from the production. And while normally I would love to give new sci-fi directors a shot, I would say this one is just not great. It is not good.
We're really not doing well with directing duos in sci-fi, actually. We're not doing so hot. They were also big produced. Yeah, they wrote it, directed it, produced it as well.
Yeah.
Actually, and then some other people. Sam Raimi was definitely
working
working on this
Yeah,
a lot.
it was producer or something?
He was a producer. He worked with some of the music as well. We have Danny Elfman being co-composer.
Really?
And the music was nothing to remember.
Oh, right.
Nothing
Tell
to
me
remember.
about
George
Giacano?
Yeah, he had something to do, too, with music.
Unreal.
Yeah. Like I said, we saw this. We did. I wasn't going to give it...
Let me toss you a little bit. Okay. Well, what are your thoughts, Tom, on 65?
Let me tell you something.
Would you give this 65?
We were at a restaurant. Andrew and I were at a restaurant. You come walking by. I kid you not. My first thing in my head was, now I can't surprise him with the Tommy Two Shoes. And then in the first 20 minutes, I'm thinking, I don't care enough about this movie to give it Tommy Two Shoes.
Yep.
And then the movie continued to go, and I said, I am so angry. I have to give this a Tommy Two Shoes. I care for the worst reasons. I care out of anger.
Right.
I'll tell you what. The beginning of this movie was bad.
Right. It had
The middle of this movie was bad. The end of this movie was even bad.
It was
even more bad.
Yeah.
It was shocking how an hour and 30 minutes felt like the most
Pulling
boring torture.
It was like a dentist appointment.
No, I've had a great conversation with my dentist before. I actually paid attention and was like, had a great conversation with my dentist last time I was at the dentist.
Really?
There was nothing happening decent in this film.
Yeah.
Nothing. You know what happened? Andrew and I accidentally walked in, sat down to realize we were in the wrong theater and 80 for Brady was on.
No.
We both walked out. We said we should have just stayed.
We should have
just stayed for 80 for Brady because we would have had a better time.
That is insane.
The movie sucked. Movie was,
unfortunately. And again, rooting for sci-fi, rooting for Adam Driver. You know what I mean?
I hate to give you a big critique, though, what you said. It isn't generic. It is worse than generic.
Ooh.
It is worse than generic. This felt like a bad movie on the Sci-Fi Channel, made in the late 90s.
Definitely late 90s.
Yeah, the premise and the way what the story was, if you look at the exact plot, the synopsis, whatever.
You got to give Cliff Notes on it. Right?
Yeah, this is a 1990s sci-fi production.
Yeah.
Sci-Fi Channel
Absolutely.
production. And that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
Absolutely.
So I think it was worse than generic, and I don't think I have anything good to say about it. If you think you're watching a dinosaur movie,
you're not.
Watch Jurassic Park.
Sure, absolutely.
And you're not watching
Right.
a dinosaur
You're really
movie.
not.
You're not watching a dinosaur movie. And every single time he flipped up his little...
Oh,
his little
the
gadget
rangefinder
he had. Boy, were we not dealing with much.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much. I'll toss it back to you now. Play a little ping pong. Here.
I like your approach to it, and I definitely agree. Honestly, it's if anything, perfectly described as late 90s. Cookie cutter, pump it out sci-fi.
Was it getting worse and worse for you?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the one piece that I was maybe excited for was a little bit of the survival element, and more I saw how that went out the door. Logic, stakes.
Right.
Yeah.
You know me, I would love a good survival thing.
Oh, absolutely. Hopefully, have some good news for you.
This was not
with the next one.
Okay. This was not Revenant with dinosaurs. Let's just say that.
Right. If only. That would be great. Let's give a little bit of a summary here. Our story focuses on Adam Driver playing Captain Mills, a starship captain for presumably a spacefaring civilization in the developing history of our galaxy. This is pre-humanity. After what feels like a 30-minute opening sequence, which had me kind of side-eyeing it for Drive My Car. That's what the opening sequence reminded me of, honestly. That it was like this. It was like an episode of TV before the
It was short, though. It was like 5 minutes.
No, it was like 30 minutes.
No, it was not. It might have felt like 30 minutes.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll give you 15. I'll give you 15.
All right, okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. We find Mills crashing on an alien planet packed to the brim with vicious dinosaur creatures. Only surviving crew is a small girl named Koa who has to journey with him in a fight to get back to the life they left behind. The structure here is real simple. Got to get from point A to point B through a jungle, through dinos, and a ticking clock, which I won't spoilers on that ticking clock, but when I laughed out loud when I knew what the ticking clock was. So last time I checked, Sci-Fi Dinosaurs was done already by a little game named Turok, but after watching this snoozer, maybe there's a reason why they never adapted it. I actually think the dinosaurs are one of the blandest parts of it. Would you agree with that?
100%.
A letdown as well, like disappointing specifically.
Massively.
Yeah.
To the point where they kept on using the same dinosaur.
Yes.
And it's like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
I would
You'd think you'd want to distinguish the film from the semi-recent Jurassic World film as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a Turok film would have been better.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if this was generic, you would be like, oh, this was just like a Turok movie. Bah.
Yeah.
No, it was worse than that, I'm telling you.
I'm 100% with you.
Dinosaurs sucked, yeah.
Yeah.
To your point.
The script and the idea is trying to be a little like 2017's Logan, as the kid doesn't speak the same language and kind of complicates the straightforward plot, but also is done in a lot of cutesy ways. There's a lot of failed bonding that happens on the film as the movie bounces between cutesy moments and intense violence in a very jarring way, honestly. I felt like every kind of cute moment they were trying to have as a bonding moment between the two just fell completely on its face. Just when a survival element is clocked up, the movie has a bad habit of releasing the pressure with these fatherhood scenes and largely don't work. I felt like the writing was one of the weakest elements of the film, trying to shovel in pointless family garbage. And with the kid actress not being great, my boy Adam Driver doesn't have a lot to bounce off of. But I'm not saving Adam Driver here. He's not great.
No.
He's not great on his own either. So.
If Adam Driver was not the lead and we had just some guy,
Right.
I probably would have left.
Wow.
Probably would have left the theater.
What's that on the two shoes? Two shoes out the door.
And I don't want to leave theater. I don't want to, I'm going to do a review.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to stick it out. But I was tempted to leave that in Thor: Love and Thunder. It was in the back of my head. It's just like, boy, those are two bad films. You're totally right, though. Drop ball on everything from the moments that you're trying to have to the point where it's just so obviously you're going to get those moments. It would have been nice to at least just give us something or do better.
Yeah.
And Adam Driver, boy, I don't know if he was getting a check. I mean, $45 million budget, relatively modest for today.
Okay.
Kind of. And it's just like, he wasn't selling anything.
Yeah.
He wasn't selling anything.
Yeah, he really wasn't.
He had one freak out moment, and it's just like, all right, he saved all his emotion. I'll film for this. I was like, all right.
Yeah. I would say my number one criticism is just bad use of resources in a survival story. The story will spotlight a few factors like the ammo count on his space gun and the protection of his suit, but then proceeds to do nothing with them. As a result, the story has very little stakes, despite being presented as this dire survival challenge with dinosaurs after their throats. I think it hurts the lethality of the dinosaurs as well. I never felt threatened by these dinosaurs, despite how generic they were.
No.
So I'll actually end with maybe some slight props to sound design. I kind of enjoyed the sound effects of the tech of the story, the sound of the gun, sound of the beeps and boops of the ship. But honestly, there is a super generic design everywhere else, though. Like, this civilization is humanoid. They are not actually human. This doesn't need to play it safe with its sci-fi aesthetic. A perfect example of this is presumably a galactic civilization, and they're using paper booklets to document crew members, and they're wearing knitted long sleeves and generic athletic wear. Like, the girl has sneakers on, and it's just like, stop it. Stop, just, I don't know, care? I don't know. Design may be a nitpick for some, but for me, when it's sci-fi, it's about, the critique is always for what the film is, and for sci-fi, that context, that design matters because it's giving substance to the sci-fi world. It's storytelling through the tech that they employ. And seeing Adam Driver in like a family knitted shirt is just like so bad. But folks, I think it is painfully forgettable. And this brought me a lot of disappointment for the week because I would say I was a little hyped for this. But I'm going to say now, probably best to stay away. We're going to go ahead and give 65 or 30 on the dot.
30 on the dot. Totally good. Totally good.
Yep.
I was afraid you were going to touch the high 40s or something like that.
Yeah. Believe me, I at worst, I thought it was going to dip into, just a generic 50s film. It got worse. I totally agree with you. It compounded.
It did. It was getting more and more upset. And it's only an hour and 33 minutes, but boy.
Yeah.
It was a slog.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's the introduction for Tommy Juniors. Let's see.
Yeah, so I mean that was my whole take. I mean, I pretty much said what I agree with everything you said. Mm-hmm. You at least gave it props, I believe, for the beeps and boops. We had that's in quotations. So I guess I could agree with that.
That's my critical opinion. Beeps and boops.
I'm trying to be clever, trying to think of, because here's the problem.
Sure.
One shoe doesn't say that it's bad enough.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is it like...
So, it's not a Tommy flip-flop. It's not a Tommy flip-flop.
Because it doesn't flip to good.
Well, the whole point of the Tommy flip-flop for Ocean's 8 was like, this movie tries to flip and all it does is flop. So it's like, it's a Tommy flip-flop. That's how that gets.
So it was a little bit on the wrong page.
So as far as 65 goes, I'm trying to be cute and trying to like mix it in with like a dinosaur slang. But it's like that in itself is cool.
Right.
Which this movie is not.
It's not cool.
Okay. So this movie gets...
Well, let me ask you this. In any scenario, would you recommend this film?
No.
Okay, then I think you're running barefoot.
Okay. Okay.
See, that's what I've been boiling it down to lately. Like, how do I actually recommend this? Who do I recommend this?
And you know what the funny thing is? I would watch Ocean's 8 before this film.
Wow, there you go.
Because Ocean's 8 is so hilarious in its own way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
65 gets... a zero shoes.
It
gets zero shoes.
You heard it here, folks. I think first zero shoes.
Shooting blanks. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It's zero shoes. Zero shoes. First time ever.
Shooting blanks out of that space gun.
Yeah. I was trying to be so honestly, I was trying to be so clever with it. I
Some
didn't
sort of
spend much time
dinosaur.
thinking about it. Something with dinosaurs, something with like his ammo or something like that.
Oh, maybe a dinosaur footprint.
Yeah, no, it's well, I was thinking about one dinosaur, but even that is like, if you see one dinosaur footprint, that's still a big deal. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
A lot of dinosaurs only have 2 shoes, you know what I mean? So anyway, it gets a 0 because it's that good. I would never recommend this to anybody. I think everyone should be very wary. Because I knew it was a smaller film. Like, I knew the budget wasn't that big. It wasn't being promoted much.
Sure.
But I still thought it was Adam Driver with space guns and dinosaurs.
Yeah.
It wasn't really. Well, it was, but it was bad.
Chips away. I'll certainly be a little bit more bashful in calling him my boy. So
No, it's fine. Everyone needs him. Everyone needs something like that.
Everyone needs a boy.
But, boy, okay, so we definitely disagree. Yeah. In fact, I might be lower because 30% is around my 1-shoe territory. So.
Okay, fair.
So I'm giving it 0 shoes. Yeah, big time.
Big time.
All right, that's enough on that. That's enough time on that for sure. We're going to move on. Long episode, folks. We're not even done yet.
It was a meaty producer segment.
It's meaty all around. Okay, so
it's meaty all around.
This is the film that it was like the one trailer Vince saw last year. He was actually excited to see this movie. It is with our boy, I'll say, Willem Dafoe for sure.
Absolutely.
We're a big fan of Willem Dafoe. This movie is now playing. It's now released or just released. This is Inside, directed by someone I definitely don't know.
Yeah.
Vasilis Katsoupas.
Wow, excellent job. I don't even have the balls to try to pronounce that name.
I don't. Yeah. Again, it's a rated R film. It's an hour and 45. I don't think a lot of people know that this film exists. I don't think they know much about it. Do a brief setup a little bit and tell us what was your excitement from and how did it actually end up faring.
I gotta say, this film was right up my alley, what I wanted. I was originally hyped for it for that trailer. I really hate trailers, so when I saw this didn't want to make me blow my brains out, so that's a real big positive.
It's a big positive, yeah.
So, but seriously, I love the whole premise and the feel of that trailer, and I knew I had to include it on this week's watch list. Our story here is an art heist gone wrong. Willem Dafoe plays Nemo, a burglar dropping into a high-end luxury penthouse to steal a handful of paintings. Within our opening 10 minutes of the film, however, the alarm springs, sealing the high-rise into a gigantic panic room, essentially, or for Dafoe's circumstances, his new prison. Now, the entire runtime of the film is trapped in this gorgeous palace of art and luxury, but the structure of the story is what surprised me here. I would describe this as a psychedelic survival film, and I'll break that down. But that
in a penthouse,
yes.
Wow.
But survival film is the core there. I put this right next to Castaway and Martian.
Okay.
Swear to God.
I'm in.
Yeah. How Nemo operates as a character trapped within this apartment quickly becomes an unexpected survival challenge. Early on, he has a kind of a semblance of hope that he may escape with actually his picks, his paintings that he's stealing. But quickly that goes out the door, and very quickly that shifts to him just trying to survive because he doesn't know how long he's going to be trapped into this penthouse. That challenge is fought mentally as well, a sort of twisted cabin fever, as sharp and cunning as Nemo is as a thief. His mental state degrades unusually fast as he's surrounded by all this surreal art, and it's beginning to kind of seep into his psyche.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's exactly what you want out of Willem Dafoe. You want to see him just go crazy.
Right.
It's exactly what I wanted out of the film. Not that I expected a survival film as its story structure. None the slightest.
Sounds really risky, too.
Yeah.
This takes place in New York? Like it's a New York penthouse? Or?
Nondescript. Presumably Manhattan, though.
Okay. It seems risky.
Yeah.
Survival story in an apartment.
Yeah. Right, because that alone, it's like, what? Oh, great. He's in a penthouse, he's stuck. That's not really stakes, but it's fascinating how the film clocks up stakes, and then again, if that's even not enough for you, you have this kind of mental degradation from Dafoe's character, from Nemo. And this is exactly what I want out of characters written and acting like their character role. We spoke about this importance with our Jurassic Park 1 review. Not once do they ever stop acting and operating within the plot like scientists. Very similarly here. In this movie, Dafoe never stops acting and problem solving like a master thief. He's sharp as a tack until he goes a little mad. And that's shown in the trailer of, Dafoe's acting and talking to a pigeon and whatnot. And honestly, that's definitely 50% of why this movie hits so much for me, because I just love even Dafoe just being a solo act, basically.
He is.
He's very fascinating.
I was kind of just thinking back on Dafoe and everything like that. He is becoming one of the top art house actors. Yeah. You go back through his filmography, and he's so impressive that he doesn't chase big films. Now, I understand he's Green Goblin and everything like that, but the dude, I just appreciate him for loving the art.
Yeah.
He's not a guy who will go take the paycheck.
Absolutely.
Except for maybe if it's Green Goblin or something. But
he's a great Green Goblin.
Right. But you know what I mean? I mean, it's film after film after film of low budget but great storytelling. And look how he hits. You're enjoying this. You have Florida Project.
Oh,
and
sure.
so many
Lighthouse.
others. Yeah, right. Lighthouse.
Absolutely.
Exactly right.
Absolutely.
He's becoming like the art house guy.
I think that's great, and I'm happy to give him the crown too. So
yeah.
I think, again, in this kind of problem solving he has in the penthouse, it stays focused on escaping the entire time. The script never once leaves the film's own logic, and it makes watching Dafoe problem solve for an hour 45 very gripping, in addition to him going crazy. So every avenue of him escaping this panic room is explored. Just when you think you have a critique for the story of just saying, I'd actually do this first, or I do that. Honestly, it hit me that Dafoe is trying something new to get out and survive. And talk about in stark contrast with 65, an actual survival movie with actual, with real stakes.
Yeah.
Dafoe's eating caviar for 30 days,
right.
So it's crazy how in the execution this was a better survival movie than 65. So, wow. And a great one too. And I get why calling it a survival may sound like an odd genre to put it in, but it really unfolds as that. And like I said, I would honestly put this right next to a Castaway, a Martian in its structure, because it's unique that it's in a penthouse, and it's unique that Dafoe is our leading man and a sole leading man, but he's not, there's no character motivation other than getting out of this hell that he's trapped in, this prison that he's trapped in. Like I've hinted at already, it is honestly great watching Dafoe be weird the whole time. He's a kind of a cat burglar, high-end art thief, but he's eccentric as well, and it's led in with some narration to kind of introduce us to the character and why he may not have all his marbles, basically.
Okay, all right.
A lot is riding on his shoulders to entertain as a solo act as well, and he does not disappoint. This is a great performance, and it's a great performance because he's not really talking all of the time. He'll eventually do some monologues and some narration, but so much of the film is just silent, and him you just see him scanning the room and trying to find out how the hell does he get out of this. Man, I was just right there for it. I was so about this movie. The cinematography is gorgeous. So many wonderful shots have a beauty to what he's trapped in, but also lends to serious storytelling. It communicates what you need to know and does not hold your hand. If something is shown to Dafoe or shown to the audience, it's not narrated, it's not spelled out, it's there to keep in your mind. And, though the film may be very quiet, though the film may be a little bit boring for some, it's something to engage with. It's not going to hold your hand through this. Some couple examples of this is that very early on, he tries throwing a stone. It's like this orange, stone centerpiece at a glass window. He's at the top floor of a high rise. Instead of us seeing it bounce back off, the next very scene is just the stone laying on the floor and Dafoe walking up to it defeated. There's no extra communication there.
Right, right.
You fill it in. Another great thing is that the temperature is fluctuating very oddly in the entire film. We see this through it being on the temperature gauge, but by the sweat on Dafoe's back. When the cool finally turns on, we don't get a shot of little
tassels.
Little tassels over it. We just see Dafoe in ecstasy over it finally being some cool air. That's what I mean. It's on his shoulders, and he's running the whole show. He's doing a good job.
So good.
Yeah.
Freaking love Dafoe.
Yeah. Let me give some real talk for the second time this episode. Like I said a little bit, some might find this boring. Some might not weigh logic of a script as heavily as I do, and not get kind of pissed off when it doesn't fill up to logic. Honestly, some might not be into a movie with, Willem Dafoe going mad for an hour and 45, That may not be some people's bag, but I would argue two things for the appreciation of this film. Engagement is driven through Dafoe's attempts to constantly try to escape, and the subtle horror setting in of how long he's actually been trapped in this place. And secondly, the dripping, gorgeous shots that not only comprise the visual appeal of the film and the art and the luxury, but tell a story of their own and, again, subtly tune in some horror themes. We're going to go ahead and give Inside an 81.
Wow.
First new film.
Cracking the 80s.
We're
in March, but that's okay.
Right. It's been a minute, but this was exactly what I wanted out of it.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to watch it. I mean, if it's getting an 81, it's got Defoe in it. And if it's kind of survival, watch Defoe go. He is so good.
Yes.
There's a lot we have to cover from him.
True.
Do we cover Antichrist?
Oh, no. That's Lars Van Trier.
Right.
Those are going to be some doozy movies when I have to cover those. Is that on the birthday list, huh? Antichrist.
An 81 for Inside. Wow.
Yeah.
And an hour and 45.
Yeah, I was so pleased with it, and don't get me wrong, this is not. I'm not giving it such praise because I was in such a drought this week of good movies. I'm telling you,
87 for Ferris Bueller. Don't forget, saw it twice.
Right. I was starved.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But seriously, I mean, this film was. Man, it just doesn't hold your hand, and it's so good to see him on screen. I loved it.
Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on the director. I mean,
Yeah.
you're saying that the cinematography was good, too? I mean,
Yeah.
we're going to have to keep an eye on what's going on here.
Absolutely.
She really has, or he or her, I don't know, he has basically one other kind of feature-length, hour-and-a-half documentary, kind of.
Yep.
But-
And this, you can tell, there's a long list of producers in the front. You can tell he
I know, I put
probably
them on the
just
site.
got this penthouse to film in. Like, it's some rich dude's actual penthouse.
Like an Airbnb.
Yeah, probably.
I would love to see the shooting schedule, actually, for this.
Yeah,
You know? Sometimes magic can be captured like that. I think Whiplash was shot in like 21 days or less.
Wow.
Or something like that.
That's
Might
great.
have been less. Whiplash might have been like 9 days or something. I don't
For
know.
real?
Yeah.
Wow.
Regardless. Don't sleep on this film. Right
Yes.
now, it probably is in a theater. If you're somewhere in the suburbs, there's probably, or city, there's a theater maybe somewhat close to you.
More rural, probably this isn't making the cut.
Right now, it's in 357 theaters, which
Yeah.
is not a lot.
Right.
Luckily, we have one that's close.
Yep.
The next closest is it's not all that close, but
Sure.
it's also because it's the first week. Hopefully, if it gets a little bit of love,
Yep.
next week we'll see it in some more. I
Absolutely.
wouldn't be surprised if this is a soft rollout. And depending on critic reviews and how it does per theater, we might see this in 1,000 or 1,500 or something like that.
Absolutely.
So don't sleep on it. It's called Inside with Willem Dafoe, an 81%. Awesome, Vin. Really, really good.
One last note,
Please.
just for you, really.
Please.
Better than this movie, but reminded me of The Hunter a little bit. Just that it's a solo act with Dafoe, basically.
right.
Yeah.
And I like The Hunter. Yeah. The Hunter and Inside, I'm sure, are both better than The Martian, too. We should say that.
Yeah.
We're not talking like The Martian, some great movie,
Right.
but I understand what you're saying with the premise. Okay.
Okay, he's
Well,
ready. He's ready.
Should we just jump into it right
Extra
away?
long. I was curious if it was going to make the edit.
Okay. You were just Chris. We're going long. We're going long, and so
Okay.
it's okay. Okay.
All right,
so,
I got to write this down. I go, ooh.
listen, I can text it to you too.
All right.
Okay, so these are my. We didn't do this last year.
No. This is hopefully the start of a wonderful tradition.
I feel like I have given up suggesting films for the most part. No, there's one coming up. Actually, new one coming up. that You put on your list, but okay. So we figured, okay, my birthday's coming up. We'll do my films.
Yep.
We have a new release that'll be Super Mario Brothers as well. Now this will be in early April, or the second week in April when the episode will come out.
Technically, watching week is first week of April.
I want to give these out now, just so if you have time to watch them,
Sure.
I'll watch them with you.
You don't want to do the 5.
and give it. Well, I
We
have.
can ditch Super Mario.
No. Like we said, I have 4, and then I have 2.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
So basically, what's going to happen is if you have time for a 6th film, Super Mario's happening.
Okay,
Okay.
fair. All right.
If you have time for a 6th film. We're gonna pick today what it will be out of one of these 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's a
I
little
like
weird.
it. I like it.
So you can pick between the
The
2,
rules
and then
are
we
weird.
may or may not do it in the end.
Okay. All right. So give me the mandatory 4.
Okay, so the mandatory 4 that you have to watch, and like I said, I'm going to watch them too.
Okay.
And give them a Tommy Two Shoes, presumably.
Love it.
I'm gonna give you these films in order of newest film to oldest film.
Okay.
I would suggest, if you can let me totally Mussolini out and have total control, I suggest, and I will be watching them in sequential order, though.
Okay.
So I'm going to go earliest to latest.
You want me to do that?
I honestly think it might be the way to do it, and we can get into why I think
that's all good.
But we're going to start with newest and then go back.
Okay.
So first on the list. Oh, let me just say this.
You're getting way.
I'm sorry. I'm telling you right now, 0 westerns are on the list.
No.
I can't believe it myself.
Wow.
Here's the thing.
I really can't believe it.
I am still.
Your Woody title will be taken
for
back.
whatever reason. I still have this fantasy that we'll be doing a John Wayne Part 1 and then Part 2 special. I don't know when that's going to come.
Yeah.
I'm thinking by next birthday, if there is no John Wayne or John Wayne special or something like that, or big heavy hitter westerns, that's what my birthday's going to turn into.
I like it. I like it.
So no John Wayne, no westerns.
No Pilgrim.
So, and I could have been like mean. I could have been like, oh boy. I had some films and I was like, oh, this would be hilarious. But I didn't want to just give you shit films for you to watch. I thought that'd be mean.
It's your birthday.
So this is very fair.
Okay.
Films you would never guess.
Okay.
But very fair.
Okay.
So first on the list, we have 2018's Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot.
Oh, no.
This film is Joaquin Phoenix.
Wait, is this the film that we both watched and we hated?
No.
Oh, don't worry, he won't get far. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I shouldn't interrupt.
I don't know which. I don't know. Yeah, I can guarantee you didn't see this. This is an Amazon, basically, original film. Is it ringing bells? Joaquin Phoenix and Jonah Hill is a supporting character.
All right.
I don't have the exact quote from Jonah Hill, but Jonah Hill was so pissed off. He said that was because Amazon kind of crushed it. Something else came up or something happened where they just buried it immediately.
Okay.
And Jonah Hill was furious, saying, that is the best acting I'm probably ever going to do in my life.
Wow.
And they just canned it and they torched it. And now no one's going to see it.
Really? Over Wolf of Wall Street, too? Damn.
So I saw this already, and I can't wait to see it again.
Okay.
I really like this movie.
All right.
I really like this movie. And by the way, really like Jonah Hill in it.
Okay.
Like, it was very impressive.
Interesting.
You can get some remnants of it in You People, in the Netflix that just came out with him.
Oh, I didn't check it out.
Yeah, Andrew and I watched it, but this is a performance of his that's very good, and Joaquin Phoenix is crushing it.
Okay. All right.
Don't worry, he won't get far on foot.
Okay,
that's 2018.
Lengthy title.
Now I'm thinking, okay, now I want a comedy. You know what I mean? And what do I do?
In the palette.
We talked about Dodgeball, right? You know I'm a Wedding Crashers guy, but that's you kind of saw that recently. You know what I mean? It's just like do I just pick a random one? And then I thought, my boy, big time Vince Vaughn, right? Because I got all these Vince Vaughn movies already in my head.
He's got them.
Let's take it back a little bit.
Cocked and loaded.
Film I haven't seen.
Oh, okay.
And I'm excited to watch with you. Okay, we'll go back to 1996's Swingers.
Swingers! Oh, hell yeah! Absolutely. Okay.
Okay, so
I'm
that's
down with Swingers.
Yeah, 1996 Swingers.
So jump back, a serious jump back. So the majority of this is gonna be some old films.
Yeah. Next,
yeah.
Next on the list. I haven't seen it. Again, excited to see it with you.
Okay.
1957's The Bridge on the River Kwai.
Oh, wow.
It's a heavy.
It's a heavy one.
It's a heavy hitter.
I haven't seen it either.
And
so.
people say it's a phenomenal movie.
Okay.
Also, it's from the 50s.
Yeah.
So I thought we'd get some 50s magic in there.
Yeah.
And it is like a famous movie from that era. People say it's like on greatest lists.
Yep.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah, The Bridge on the River Kwai. Next, and our last one, which I think is what we should start with, 1925's Battleship Potemkin.
Oh my God!
The reason for this film.
Wait, there's one in 1920 because that's been remade a few times.
Yeah, this is the OG. The reason for this film is one. I had brought it up to you months and months ago, maybe even over a year ago. It is consistently rated one of the best films ever made.
Wow!
It is a silent film. It is based off of, I believe, a true event, which was a mutiny that happened in 1905 on a Russian submarine.
Oh, wow.
And so 20 years later, it was redone. But still to this day, considered one of the best films. And because it's a silent film, because it's 1925, it's
25?
1925.
They have
from a
U-boats
Russian
then,
director.
you know? Wow.
So it was probably going to be difficult for me for just sit down and actually watch this.
Yep.
And I think same for you.
Sure,
So this
sure.
is the way that we're going to watch
Love
this
it.
film.
Love it.
Battleship Potemkin.
Okay. All right.
I think it's a pretty good list. I think it's fair.
Unexpected is right. I love the jarring switch to swingers.
So this is what I think. I think Battleship Potemkin is like an hour and 6 minutes.
Okay.
But it's also
good.
it's also silent film. It's old.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Then we're gonna have this long 50s movie and more film. So to bring us up, we have this light, snappy swingers comedy. And we'll end it with something quite modern, actually, and a movie I think you're actually quite going to like.
That's great. I love it.
That's all I'll say about it because I don't want to get in your head too much or for you to expect much.
Okay. What's our optional 2?
Our optional 2. I forgot that I had said last week about the optional 2. So on my way home from work, I picked an optional 2 that I actually quite like. Okay. Here are the optional 2.
Here they are.
Body of Lies or Blood Diamond.
Oh, wow.
Both Leo movies and both Leo movies that people tend to forget about a little bit.
Wow. You know, Blood Diamond might make the cut. What better movie to lead into Super Mario Brothers? Blood Diamond.
I've always liked Blood Diamond. The only reason why I put Body of Lies in, I believe they came out the same year.
Yeah.
And I think
Leo was doing a lot of work in those years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Body of Lies, definitely seen by less people, but I have heard that it's not bad. So I thought maybe you'd be interested in being like, you know what? Okay, let's give that a go.
I think, not to commit early, I think it will be Blood Diamond if I do out of the 2.
Okay.
But
We're picking now, though.
Okay. Let's do Blood Diamond.
By the way, not to say this is going to be watched.
Am I picking or are you picking?
No, you're picking. You're picking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mussolini's taking a step back.
So Blood Diamond.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Blood Diamond, that's been slightly a movie I've been wanting to return to.
Okay. So let's just say this. If you have time for a 6th movie, we will watch it. But when I say there's no pressure, I mean there is no pressure to watch that. Okay? Seriously.
I mean, honestly, April's kind of sparse enough. We can push Mario down the line. There's also Air.
You know me. I don't want to push Mario back.
Okay.
It's a heavy hitter. I think people are going to want to hear it.
Yeah,
I'm going to want to hear it. Let's stay.
You want the Mario.
Yeah.
All right. That's a list.
That's it.
I will say that's a very unexpected list. If I had to put money on this list,
you would have
folks,
been saying Western.
Westerns or all like comedies. I thought you were going to hit me with Wedding Crashers, no doubt.
I know, and that's why I didn't do it. But I kept you in the realm of Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
The problem with the John Wayne thing is I still think us doing batches of him might be the way to go. So then I was thinking, okay, maybe we'll do a Brannigan, because that wouldn't be on a John Wayne. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean. Folks, I guess we'll save the explanation for Brannigan when we finally touch on
We have more
Brannigan.
time, yeah. Anyway, those are the films. Vin, is there anything you want to add to this week or anything like that, or roll credits here?
Just a heartfelt thanks to both the producers. Absolutely tremendous. And no matter what, we love hearing from you. So if you like the John Hughes study, if there's another kind of film study that you're interested in, feel free to write in. But we're running long, so I'll end it right there.
Well said, Vin. I agree completely. Thank you so much to the producers. And again, you can still produce by just getting our name out there. And for those of you sending monetary donations, it just means the world to us. Thank you so much for that. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter at the bottom of the website. And folks, we will see you. You know what? We forgot to run down the movies last week, and we're going to run them. I don't want to forget again, even though we're running long. Especially with this. Ferris Bueller's Day Off with an 87%. Shazam exclamation point with a 53%. Shazam exclamation point Fury of the Gods with a 26%. 65 with a 30%. And Inside with an 81%. Folks, thank you so much. We will see you next week on the Daily Ratings Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, give us a good rating or tell a friend about us. If you're wondering if a film is worth a watch, or if you'd just like to see more movie ratings from Vince, be sure to stop by thedailyratings.com, where we have our ever-expanding catalog of films. Also, if you found value in the podcast or our site, become a producer and go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com. You can donate whatever amount of value you feel you received from us. We're looking to build this into something large and great, folks, but also be independent from those corporate sponsors. So we greatly appreciate any support from you all. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.